Hey, what's going on today, guys? It's Trey. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about the recent life-changing operation that I had performed called a cholecystectomy, or as most people know it as a gallbladder removal. So I really want to talk to you guys about how I found out that I needed to get my gallbladder removed. I want to talk to you guys about the day of the operation. And the final thing I want to talk about is the post-op recovery, which is what I'm currently in right now. In fact, I'm 2 weeks out from having my surgery performed. So I really hope this video helps to educate a lot of people and put you at ease and answer a lot of questions. And so without further ado, stay tuned. Let's get into it. So way back in 2019, when I was living in Hawaii, I woke up one night to some really sharp pains in my abdomen. Like it literally felt like I was being stabbed. And I went to the restroom. I was throwing up profusely. I was also urinating blood. So my wife drove me over to Straub Hospital in downtown Honolulu. They kept me there. They monitored me. You know, I had endoscopies performed. I had all different types of medical tests performed to try to see what was going on. And the diagnosis that they made was that I had kidney stones. So I had never had kidney stones before in my life, but I'll tell you a couple of things. It really hurt when I was urinating, and I was urinating blood, and I just felt extremely nauseous. So they kept me there for about a week. They continued to monitor me. And they basically told me, hey, you're gonna pass these kidney stones naturally, and then we're gonna send you home. Got all of that done, passed the kidney stones naturally, and yeah, I basically was sent home. So literally a year later, like the exact same time of the year, just a full year later, I ended up waking up in the middle of the night with the same occurrence, the stabbing sensation in my stomach, extreme pain, nausea, cloudiness in my head. And so I went back to the hospital. This time I actually went right back to Straub. This time it was a little bit different because COVID was underway. And if you know anything about Hawaii, it's an extremely small place with millions of people that live there. So a lot of the hospitals were completely overrun and understaffed. And so that presented a lot of challenges, but of course they ended up getting me in. They did another endoscopy. They ended up finding out that I had actually a lot of issues going on in my digestive tract. And I ended up being diagnosed with a disease called sphincter of Oddi dysfunction, which basically means that the sphincter in my digestive system, which controls bile fluid and a lot of other fluids that come in and out of your digestive tract, it's basically supposed to operate in an open-close fashion. Mine, on the other hand, would shut completely and it wouldn't open up at all. So when I would eat a meal, I would immediately throw it up. I just had a lot of digestive issues. And so I ended up being diagnosed with that. And I ended up being taken in for emergency surgery. Now, the surgery was super simple. They ended up putting me under general anesthesia, and they basically permanently cut open my sphincter of Oddi. So I was sent home, and while I was at home, I felt really sick and nauseous. I went to go throw up in the restroom, and I just threw up a bunch of blood everywhere. And so my wife ended up driving me over to Castle in Kailua. Ran into the same issues with COVID, not being able to get seen immediately. And once I finally told everybody, hey, like I'm throwing up blood, I had an operation performed 24 hours earlier. They ended up seeing the severity of what I was dealing with, the severity of my situation. So I did have internal bleeding. This is a part of the story where it's pretty difficult to recount because I was about to die. I was literally a few hours away from dying. And so my body was losing a ton of blood. And because of the COVID situation and not having any availability in the hospital space really anywhere, I was driven around in an ambulance for literally hours trying to get into a hospital. So eventually they ended up taking me back to Straub. I remember waiting basically outside to get a room, ended up getting a room, and basically they started to give me blood. I had a blood transfusion performed. So after about 5 to 6 hours of receiving the blood via the blood transfusion, I ended up being taken in for emergency surgery. They cauterized the wound, and they ended up keeping me in the hospital for about a week just to monitor me and make sure that there wasn't any more bleeding taking place. And so as you can imagine, my hospital bill was through the roof. It was actually over $250,000. That's American healthcare for you, but I was gonna die, And my biggest thing at that point was my wife was pregnant, right? This is gonna be my first child, first son. I wanted to be there for that. So my frame of mind was, I have to survive this. I have to get out of here. This is a story I haven't told really anybody, but I was very near to death. And it's amazing when I look back at the medical paperwork and my discharge paperwork, they literally say in there that patient was near death. Like this was a near death experience. They say that in the documentation. So very crazy situation, but yeah, I ended up being discharged and I resumed my life. Got the chance to end up taking care of my wife during the rest of her pregnancy. And of course I was there to see my first son, Golden, born. So quality of life after my surgery was pretty tough, pretty daunting. You know, eating foods and eating specific types of foods like fried foods or, you know, bread, stuff like that, like thicker, more hearty meals was just very daunting. You know, I had a lot of digestive issues. I would still continue to feel extremely full after eating meals, and life was just not fun, you know, and my wife could attest to that to this day. You know, eating food was always an adventure with Trey because I would order all this food, or I would order my favorite foods, and I could only have like a few bites and I'm done. And like, we're literally talking, I would order a pizza, I'd have like a couple of slices and like I'd be tapped out. It felt like I just ate a full Thanksgiving Day meal. It was really, really bad. So after dealing with all of that, you know, medical stuff in Hawaii, you know, I continued on with my life, and my wife, son, and I eventually moved over to Germany, and I never pursued any medical advice, and I never saw any gastrointestinal doctors while I was there in Germany, but I did continue to experience those issues that I was dealing with in my digestive system. Tons of issues. I just wanted to live in Europe, and like I just wanted to try to be as normal as possible, and sadly I continued to have a lot of those same issues that I was having when I was living in Hawaii. So I ended up coming back to the United States to really try to figure out what on earth was going on inside of me. I ended up teaming up with one of the best GI doctors here in the state of Florida. She's actually a friend of my family's, friend of my father's, who's worked in healthcare for over 40 years here. And she ended up being a really great help. And, you know, she took me in for a bunch of tests, and she did inform me beforehand that, Trey, you know, there's a very good chance that you could actually be suffering from cancer. You know, we just want to rule out as much as we can. So we're going to literally put you through every single test that we can, HIDA scans, ultrasounds. You know, we're going to do a couple of endoscopies. We're going to try to rule out some things and try to make sure that you don't have any cancer. Like, we just want to make sure you're good before we really make any big decisions on how we should handle your health moving forward. So the next thing I did was I sat down and I explained to my family, hey guys, like I'm really going through some serious health stuff. I'm about to undergo a series of tests. One of those tests is to rule out cancer, but there's a very good chance that I might have cancer. So we need to plan accordingly. And it was a very difficult time. I couldn't even work. I haven't even been making YouTube videos because it's just, life has been so uncomfortable for me, and it's hard to articulate that or explain it any further to anybody that hasn't experienced what I have or what you have. If you're an individual that's experiencing similar things, it's hard to wrap your head around all of this. And so, you know, I just really buckled down the latter part of 2023, and I committed to getting better. I have a son. I have to get better. So end of 2023, I went through so many different tests, ultrasounds, HIDA scans with ejection fraction, you know, all different types of radiation treatment, all different types of testing to rule out cancer, for one, but to also see, you know, how my digestive system works. And one test that I went through specifically was they made me eat some radioactive eggs, and then they just monitored my digestive system. Sadly, my body was not digesting food properly. That was the end result of those tests. So that was one ruling that they made. When they did my HIDA scan with ejection fraction, you know, which is where they literally inject radiation into your bloodstream, into your body, my gallbladder wasn't even showing up on the scan, which is a huge, huge red flag. And so they ended up telling me, Trey, we're going to keep you here at the hospital for some time. We're going to monitor everything that you're going through, and we are going to try to figure out what the hell's going on here. Because if your gallbladder is not showing up on this scan, that's a huge red flag. Your life could be at risk. So basically, after not being able to find my gallbladder on this specific HIDA scan, they ended up telling me, Trey, you know, we're not going to keep you here any longer. It was my birthday too, so they felt really bad. They ended up telling me, Trey, we're not going to keep you here on your birthday. You know, we're going to get you into a specialist as soon as next week, and we're going to go over some options with you. So I ended up meeting up with this doctor who's also doubles as a surgeon here in Florida. And, you know, we basically just sat down and we had some real conversations. Like, he went over my medical history with me. He asked me how I felt. It was one of the most in-depth conversations, person to person, face to face conversations I've ever had with a medical professional. And so basically what we ended up deciding is that my gallbladder needed to go. Now, this is obviously something that he specializes in. He does about 5 to 6 removals a day, and he's been in the field for over 40 years. So I trusted him. I took his word for it. And, you know, the real deciding factor for me was I determined, look, if I've had all this stuff done, what's wrong with just ruling out, you know, the possibility that my gallbladder might be really creating havoc in my digestive system? Let's just get it the hell out of me. So beginning of January, you know, we had another appointment. We created a surgery date, and, you know, we getting my gallbladder up out of me. You know, I was really excited for it. A little bit nervous. I tried to look up as much videos and stuff about the procedure as possible. And from what I could see, it was pretty painful and pretty life-changing for the most part. And so for me, I was pretty excited for that, because it's like, it can't be more pain than what I'm experiencing right now. If I can't even eat a sandwich without experiencing, you know, some extreme discomfort and pain, you know, I'm just going to take the risk and have my gallbladder removed, because it cannot possibly be worse than what I'm experiencing now. They got me in for an appointment, and we had my surgery date set. So I ended up having my gallbladder removed 2 weeks ago from today. And the next part of the video, I just want to talk to you guys about that experience. So it is done under general anesthesia. So if you're an individual that has never undergone anesthesia, it's obviously very different. You know, it's not a common thing that a lot of people experience, but I want to put you guys at ease and kind of explain to you guys how my experience was in the hospital. It was, if you guys know me, I've had over 10 operations in the past. At the beginning of 2023, so last year, I actually had spinal surgery. So that was one of my biggest operations that I've ever had performed, but I've had 2 meniscectomies done. I had the microdiscectomy done in my back. I've had septoplasty done in my nose. I've had wisdom teeth removal. I've pretty much broken every single one of the fingers on my hand. I had gynecomastia correction performed. I pretty much had every single operation that you could think of. So I'm just like the bionic man. But I do want to let you guys know that, I don't think you really have too much to worry about when it comes to this specific surgery. So they do give you some very specific instructions the night before your operation. They tell you, hey, make sure you take a shower. However, make sure it's done with an antimicrobial soap. So, you know, go out, buy some Dial, buy some unscented soap, and just make sure that it's specifically antimicrobial. So they tell you to take a shower the night before and to take a shower the morning of your operation. And of course, the biggest thing that they tell you is not to eat any food after 12 o'clock a.m. the day before your surgery. So whatever you do, don't eat, don't drink water, don't risk it. Even if you are choking, do not drink anything. It could drastically affect the surgery, and it can really hinder the process of having your surgery performed. So I got to the hospital. They do inform you to have somebody drive you. It cannot be Lyft. It cannot be Uber. It can't be any rideshare. It can't be a taxi service. You cannot drive yourself. You have to be there with somebody at the hospital, and they have to verify that that person is legitimate and that they will be there to pick you up afterwards. Because hospitals, they're never going to take the risk and let you get in a cab, get in a rideshare, drive yourself. They're never going to let you go. So to avoid any of that hassle, just make sure you have a reliable ride there with you, and it'll just make things a lot smoother and safer. So my mom ended up driving me to the hospital. Now, my surgery was set for 10 o'clock in the morning. So I got to the hospital around 8 o'clock. They actually told me to get there at 8:15, but I always like to be early. So I got there early, checked in, took me back. They told me to wipe myself down with this wipe, this cleaning ointment. And, of course, you got to wipe everywhere except your genitals. Did all of that, put the hospital gown on, and basically they tell you, hey, lay in the bed, and we are going to start the IV, and we're going to just get you as comfortable as possible to go back into the operating room. Now, it's so strange. I'm a very vascular individual. Like, I've got veins everywhere. Obviously, well, everybody has veins everywhere, but my veins are very visible. But for some reason, this nurse could not find my vein, and she stuck me in the worst places that I hate to be stuck at the hospital, or really anywhere. They got me in the hand, and they got me in the wrist. Now the wrist just, I don't know why it hurts so much. And the gauge that she was using was so large. And so next thing you know, My arm turned completely purple, and it literally just up until recently. I don't know if you guys could see it really, but up until recently, it just got back to normal. But man, it was so painful. That was, in fact, the most painful experience of being in the hospital. So hopefully you have a good nurse that can, just hit the vein and get the IV started, because that will stress you out a little bit. Now, I had never experienced this before, but I ended up just sitting in the hospital bed for 3 hours. So I guess my surgeon got backed up. His surgery before mine, I guess, was a little bit more daunting than he expected. And so it ended up taking a little bit longer to be taken back. But finally, they came in and told me, Trey, we're going to take you back. We're going to start the flow of medication to make you calm and relaxed. And so I remember them pushing me to the back. And something fun that I like to do when I get into the operating room, because unlike Germany, which in Germany, they actually knock you out before you go back into the operating room. In the United States, for some reason, they wait until you're in the operating room and then they start the flow of anesthesia. So I like to kind of see how long it takes me to zonk out or conk out or knock out. And so I like to count, right? And I usually start 1, 2, 3. Guys, I kid you not. This time, I didn't even get to count. They were like, hey, we're going to start. And I was done immediately. They hit me so hard with the anesthesia. And then I kid you not, it felt like I blinked and I was in this room, right? I didn't feel any pain. I was like, did something happen? Like, did they even do the surgery? And, I started seeing people walking by and I'm just a little bit groggy and out of it. And I'm like, okay, they must have done the surgery, because like I'm literally seeing blurry people walk by me. So, and then I started to feel the pain. It wasn't really that much pain because I'm still under the medication, but then finally the nurse came and talked to me and she was like, hey, you did perfect. Everything went smoothly and you're good. You're good. So we're going to keep you here. We need to keep you here for a few hours just to, one, make sure that you're good enough to leave and to make sure that no complications occurred. And then we also need to make sure that you urinate before you leave. Now, usually I'm the type of person that I can urinate on demand, but for some reason this day I just could not urinate at all. So I ended up having to stay at the hospital an extra 3 hours because I could not urinate. I was up and walking. They turned on all the faucets in my room. They let me walk around the hospital. I just could not urinate to save my life at all. So finally, well, I considered it a threat, but this is just them doing their job. They told me, look, Trey, we're going to have to insert a catheter and we're going to have to force you to pee if you don't pee. And so with that threat being made, I was like, look, I don't want to have a catheter inserted. I just want to get the hell out of here. So I'm like shaking and like moving and like literally putting my ear against the fountain. Finally, I was able to pee and they told me, all right, you're good to go. So they wheeled me out of the hospital. I got into the car and the drive home was pretty crazy, not gonna lie, because you're still on this medication, you're in a lot of pain, and literally every bump that I felt in the road, excruciating pain. So I'm sure you guys are probably asking yourselves like, Trey, if you're in so much pain, why not just take pain medication? So I do wanna make a quick disclaimer. I do not react well to pain medication. And in fact, the last time I took Percocet from my spine surgery, I felt awful. Like I start to see things that aren't really there. I feel extremely nauseous and I actually feel like I'm in more pain on the pain medication than I do without it. So I just opt out for it. And of course they tell you, hey, we're going to give it to you anyways. And so I just don't take pain medication at all. I just don't react well to it. So basically I just learned to suck it up and I try to be as careful as possible. You're feeling everything in your abdomen. You really don't understand how much you use your abdomen until you get your gallbladder removed. So keep that in mind after your surgery, is try to make sure that you don't live in a place like Miami or Tampa or Honolulu where the roads aren't the best, and just try to bite down on a pillow or something. Now this next part might not apply to everybody, but finally made it home, and my house is huge. It's a 5-bedroom house here in Florida and it's got 2 stories. So that is nice in most instances, but after you just had surgery, it's not the best, especially when your bedroom is located on the 2nd floor. So this presented some challenges because I don't have an elevator in this house, and so I had to walk myself up the stairs. And so that took some time, and like I said earlier, and like you're gonna hear throughout this video, you really don't understand how much you use your abdomen until you get this procedure performed. So ended up finally making it up to my room, and I just was tired, man. I just wanted to relax. I wanted to lay down. And usually the way I lay down is I just fall into bed or I jump into bed. You obviously can't do this after having your gallbladder removed. So I just tried to lay down as smoothly as I could. And guys, this was hard. So hard. It took me about 10 minutes to comfortably lie down in my own bed. And my bed is higher off the ground too. So if you're an individual with a lower bed, please go sleep in another bedroom where the bed is higher, because it's going to be impossible for you to recover and be comfortable if your bed is much lower to the ground. Now, sleeping presented a number of challenges as well. As you could imagine, I'm a side sleeper, which is virtually impossible to do after you have your gallbladder removed, just because I like to fall asleep on my right side. And when you have your gallbladder removed, it's actually located on in the right quadrant of your upper digestive system. So just keep that in mind. Sleeping is going to be very difficult. And if you're a stomach sleeper, not going to happen at all. You're not going to be able to lay on your stomach. And in fact, a couple of days ago, I just tried to lay on my stomach just to see how I felt. And I felt horrible. And this was nearly 2 weeks out of recovery. So side sleepers, good luck. If you sleep on your stomach, definitely good luck. If you do sleep on your back, you're going to be in luck, but I'm not a back sleeper. And so sleeping did present a ton of challenges the next few days. So the next thing I want to talk about is eating. This is one of the more important things to talk about, because you need to eat. You need to eat to, maintain. You need to eat to survive. And, let's face it, you're going to be hungry when you have your gallbladder removed. So for me, it was very easy to do because I don't really eat that much, especially in the first part of the day. I intermittent fast throughout the day. And I cut my eating time off super early in the evening. So wasn't as difficult for me. But if you're a person that has breakfast, pay attention, because a lot of the things that I did was actually pretty helpful. So I ate bread rolls the first day. I got Jello, and I had that the first few days. I had yogurt the first few days. Now, they do tell you to try to stay away from the higher acidic, high fiber foods, because when you have your gallbladder removed, if you didn't know by now, it's going to drastically change your digestion. And what I mean by that is when you eat, you're going to be going like that. I know me, as soon as I eat now, I'm in that bathroom 5 to 10 minutes. No exaggeration. And when they tell you that you can, poop through a screen door, you really can. Like, it's that type of change. I had a lot of fruit. I had a lot of vegetables, spinach, broccoli, edamame. Fruit-wise, like I said, they do try to tell you to stay away from the higher acidic stuff, but I just love pineapple and orange so much. That's really what has been like probably 50 to 60% of my diet. I eat a ton of pineapple throughout the day, a ton of oranges, lots of apples, grapes, and I feel fine. I haven't really had any issues with the higher acidic foods. You take the risk if you want, because it is a risk, and they tell you that, citrus and stuff, you should try to avoid the first few days, but I felt fine. It didn't really hit me as hard as I had seen it hit other people. So, and that was really it. I had, I'd say around like end of week one, I started to introduce like lunch meat, light cheese and stuff like that, fat-free or zero fat, foods. I really started to incorporate those. And then I started to introduce like butter, right? Like my spinach, I wanted to saute it. And so I would put in a little bit of butter and I would introduce that into my body. And so far, everything has been really smooth when it comes to my diet. Now, I don't recommend you eat ribs or steak or, a big piece of salmon this early on into, your diet. But if you want to take that risk, let me know how it works out for you. So yeah, that's really been my diet. Well, my edible diet. In terms of drinks, I've really just been having water. I've actually stayed away from the orange juices, which has been pretty tough because I love orange juice. But I've been drinking like tangerine juice. I've had a couple of Powerades here and there. And that's really about it. I'm not a big soda drinker at all. So I don't really have to worry about that. But they do tell you to be careful with the carbonated stuff. In terms of your digestive tract, it could throw things off a little bit. But like I said, if you want to take the risk, go ahead and do it. So the next important thing that I want to talk about is quality of life. Yes, I'm in another room. But I did just want to hit on this because I know this is something that a lot of people don't consider once they have their gallbladder removed, but I really want to share my experiences with you. So obviously your main priority should just be resting, relaxing, and recovering as much as possible, right? And I know that could really be difficult for a lot of people, right? You have kids, you might work from home, you've got things that need to be done around the house. And it can be very difficult to not do those things and take care of those things. But I know for me, it was extremely difficult because I'm a workaholic, right? Like, it's like I like to get stuff done. There's projects that need to be done around this house. And it was very challenging. But I urge you to just rest as much as possible. And I want to talk to you now about sort of the things that I've been doing to make sure that I am resting, but at the same time, making sure that I am getting up and doing things. So now that first 2 to 3 days, I really just stayed in the bed, right? I didn't get up to do anything except use the bathroom, get food in the kitchen. And that was really about it. Now, once day 3 hit, that's when I finally just decided to get up, and like I needed to feel the fresh air. That's something that a lot of people haven't been talking about on YouTube, is like making sure that you get outside after you have your cholecystectomy. I know for me, it makes a big difference in my healing, right? I'm so connected to the world and the environment that getting outside, it really has made this healing process so much better in a number of ways, from my mental health, to being able to just walk around my neighborhood. Like that has helped so much. So if you can, just try to get up. You don't need to go run for a marathon. I'm a runner, by the way, and so it sucks that I'm not going to be able to do that for the next few weeks, but just go for a walk. Go for like a 5 to 10 minute walk. I remember my first day, I just went and got the mail, right, from my mailbox. I got a lake behind my house. I would just go for a walk around the lake, right? No brisk jog, no like running hard, no walking fast. I just went and walked and connected with nature. I'm trying to think of like a few more things to hit on. Driving has been, somewhat of a challenge, right? You really don't realize how much that abdomen comes into play when you're driving a vehicle, right? But like turning the steering wheel, turning around to make sure that nobody's there. I've got a camera in my car that, when I throw it in reverse, that comes on, which is nice. But for a lot of people, right, they like that extra cushion of looking back and making sure that nobody's there, that no objects are there. But that's something that you're not going to be able to do those first few weeks after having your gallbladder removed. I can actually turn around now. My mobility and my flexion is pretty good. But yeah, for the most part, that first week, you're really going to be limited in terms of the, mobility and flexing that you can do. But yeah, I feel really good now. So real quick, I did just want to show you guys my incision sites. For some reason, they like really messed up my belly button. But yeah, so I had 5 incisions done. I had one here, here. They actually made a pretty big incision here. I could tell they used glue with all of these. This is the biggest incision here. I don't know if you guys can really see that. And then I don't know what on earth happened to my belly button, but it has been destroyed after the surgery. They did make the initial incision here in my belly button. So as you can see, not too much bruising, couple stretch marks. It happens though, folks. Yeah, I feel so good. I removed my bandages 1 week after the surgery. They said I could have removed it 2 days. I don't get a chance to see the incision sites that much, but from what I can see, the swelling has gone down. Everything looks good. There was some bloating. There's still actually a little bit of bloating in my stomach, but yeah, I'm a little bit sad about my belly button, but it happens. It is what it is. I'm hoping that this gets me back to being able to live comfortably. All right, one of the final things that I want to hit on is your digestion after having your gallbladder removed. So I knew this was going to happen because I saw so many people talking about it on Facebook. There's this group called Gallbladder Removal, the Gallbladder Removal group. Such an incredible resource. But the number one complaint that I saw of people was the immediate change in digestion. So once you take your pain medication, these actually tend to back you up a lot. They cause a lot of constipation. So that's another reason why I didn't want to take them. But once the constipation wears off, guys, as soon as you eat food, you are going to end up in that bathroom. So you need to be thinking and planning accordingly. I can't do what I used to do, which is eat a full meal and like go on about my day. No, as soon as you eat, it's going to drastically go through your body and it's just going to flow out immediately. So for example, let me just explain something to you. So my cousin gave birth in the hospital here in Florida a few days ago. And so I ate a little bit, Guys, I kid you not. I was in the bathroom like 5 minutes after I finished eating that food. Like when they say food literally goes through you, it goes through you so quickly. You could almost feel it going through you. But you got to remember, I used to have serious digestion issues before I had this surgery performed. And so now it has been such a relief for me. It won't be a relief for everybody, but it's been such a relief for me to just have the food leave. Now, I know this may present some issues in the future in terms of like nutrition and like what your body is, maintaining and whatnot. But, I think my body is just still getting used to not having a gallbladder. So I think, these initial blowouts that I've been having, right? I think it's a good sign of things to come. And I will tell you though, just be prepared to have some serious blowouts. And that's putting it very nicely. So that's going to do it for me, guys. I have really been through so much, from almost dying to all of these tests and surgeries. And, I'm excited to see what comes of having my gallbladder removed. And so I hope this video helps to put some of you guys in a peaceful place and have peace of mind. And I want you to know that you're going to get through this and you are going to be just fine. If you have any questions for me personally, I always love to link my Instagram in the description below. Feel free to contact me there. I have a great open door policy. I don't leave anybody hanging. And, even if you just want to say, hey, Trey, I miss you. I miss your videos. I hope you're doing well. Just let me know. Just, feel free to hit me up in my DMs, and I would love to hear from you. Now, for those of you that have been here and you've been wondering where I've been, I live back in the United States now, in the state of Florida. And my life has changed. You can just watch my last video. It'll kind of outline everything that I've been experiencing. I'm regaining my footing in life, and I am not going to give up. And so things have been tough, but things are getting a lot better. And having your health in order is such a huge part of being able to live. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you're doing well, and look forward for more videos. Now that I'm, able to live and go back to work, I'm super excited for everything. So my intentions for this channel were to provide a place where there's openness and honesty, and we're just here to have a good time. And I want to take care of you guys. I believe in paying it forward, and I appreciate you guys for being here. If it is your first time here, thanks for joining us for the first time. I know this isn't the most exciting video to talk about, but I appreciate you guys for continuing to be here with me.